because I was so alarmed by the whole thing, and I fell down the steps. Hey sis, welcome to my channel. My name is Olaitan and this is DearLulebi, where we talk all things motherhood, lifestyle, fashion, and everything in between as we navigate postpartum life as a new mom. If you're new here, welcome. Please subscribe, like, comment. If you've been following this series, then you know we are on the third trimester. Woo woo! Welcome to the third trimester. I'm so proud of you for making it this far, both in your pregnancy and also on these videos. I am not a professional and this is not professional advice. This is just me sharing my experience. Okay, let's jump into it. So in the third trimester, this is the trimester where you will get to see more activity from your baby, both in the ultrasounds and just on the surface of your tummy. You'll get to see kind of the activity more externally. You'll get to feel it more internally. So I felt my baby moving really large, wide movements. Like I could tell when fingers were tickling my tummy. I could tell when a hand was moving, an elbow was poking, a leg was kicking. I could tell if a knee was bending. I could feel if a head was poking somewhere. I can just feel those movements, and other people could too. So my husband could feel the movements, my family members, could feel the movements, and it was exciting for everyone. That was also quite magical because you can tell that the baby is just stronger, it's bigger. So it was really exciting for us as well. Another thing that occurs during this trimester is more Braxton Hicks. The body is just continuously getting ready for birth, especially now that you're in the last 3 months and the baby will be getting ready. So you will be feeling those Braxton Hicks more. I felt them more intensely. What I would do to help me out was just to get up and change positions, move around, change positions. Sex with your partner might be a little bit more difficult at this time. For my husband and I think we kind of just slowed it down because sometimes intercourse would trigger the Braxton Hicks. It is a myth. There is nothing happening to the baby when you're having sex. So I know a lot of men can feel nervous, self-conscious, uncomfortable, overly cautious about that. It is perfectly fine to have sex. Really, it is. And at different points, maybe not so much in the third trimester, but at different points throughout all 3 trimesters, you're going to feel the intense urge to have sex with your partner. So it is perfectly okay. Do whatever you need to do to make them comfortable with also engaging in intimacy. You might continue to get discharge. Things to keep in mind during this time. I know what I was told is, if you have frequent urination is still normal. I got up to use the bathroom several times a night. I feel like frequent urination never stopped from the moment that I thought I was pregnant to when we found out we were actually pregnant to every trimester up until I gave birth. I always had to go to the bathroom all times in the day and several times in the middle of the night. But I'm not easily disturbed. I sleep like a rock. So after I use the bathroom, I get back in bed and I'm knocked out. But if you're frequently urinating and your pee is burning, or you have itchiness, or your discharge has a smell, fishy smell, anything like that, you could be at risk for a UTI, which is not uncommon, but you should definitely go meet with your doctor, talk to your doctor about it. I did not have any UTIs, thank God, during this experience because pregnancy is already really uncomfortable by the third trimester. You don't want anything else. But some women don't have that experience and they do end up getting a UTI or other, vaginal issues. God is with you. You will be okay. You really will. Your baby will be okay. Just go see your doctor as soon as you can. Again, if you need a recommendation, if you're in Abuja and you need a recommendation or a recommendation in Lagos from my doctor, I will put it down below in the description box. I really enjoyed my experience with my doctor in Abuja. Another thing that you experience in the third trimester is loads of weight gain. So weight gain is absolutely normal. Every woman is different, every body is different, every pregnancy is different. So for some women that might be perfectly normal, but I know that in that last trimester, they're keeping an eye out for preeclampsia, eclampsia, and just anything that could create a state of distress for the baby. So you want to get, checked out regularly. If you have a high risk pregnancy, you should be having frequent visits to your OB, frequently scheduled visits. I know that was the case for me. I had a visit every week, probably the last 3 months entirely, and we were on high alert, just trying to make sure we followed all of the doctor's orders. We kept track of just weight gain in general, and we made sure that we weren't creating any states of distress for the baby. I think another thing that's really important is to be mindful of your stress levels, especially if you are first gen. If you're a first gen mama, please be mindful of your stress levels. I think that, just in general, I'm speaking from my own experience, carrying a baby, preparing for the baby's birth, nesting, which you will be doing heavily, which is basically just getting everything ready, buying what you need, preparing the room. It's kind of like interior decoration on high speed and specifically focused on a baby room and for baby stuff. But nesting occurs at this stage as well, and I know that can also be stressful. Putting together a baby registry, figuring out what you're going to purchase, managing your budget, talking through whatever you need to with your spouse or your partner. All of those things can get really intense. And then just navigating the changes of your body and the changes to your relationships, your familial relationships, your extended family relationships, your friendships. All of it can be really stressful. And so you have to be mindful. Be mindful of your stress, be mindful of your blood pressure, be mindful of your weight gain. Just do everything you can to be as mindful as possible. Your third trimester really should be a time of peace. You really should be able to create more peace during that time. By my third trimester, I was on maternity leave entirely. I did not work. I spent a lot of time nesting, resting, and relaxing. I watched a lot of TV. I continued to take my walks if I could. Caught up on all my favorite shows. I ate, my favorite things. I tried to eat as healthily as possible, and I tried to catch up with some of my friends, even though I was extremely tired, which is not uncommon. And so more often than not, I was sleeping or taking naps when, they were at work or they were off, or in the evenings I was going to bed pretty early. So it just made it tougher to stay connected with people. But I had a lot of free time, so I could try to stay connected. So I think at that point I was probably making like one call a day or every other day, and just to try to catch up with a friend, because I knew that once the baby came, my life was going to change completely. It would be upended, and I just wouldn't know what to do with myself. And I didn't want to feel this guilt that, I dropped all my friends, which sometimes that can just happen, especially when you're an empath and you're deeply connected and really rooted with your friendships. That can happen. So that was something. Also, if you're a first generation mom and you're of African descent or Asian descent or South American descent, whatever, or Asian descent or South American, Hispanic descent, I think one of the things that can really happen in our communities is that there's just so much input and so much advice. In one of the earlier videos, I talked about superstitions and culture and traditions and just how that can create added layers of stress for moms. I know for me, that is definitely something that can happen. Everyone has an opinion. The opinions often come as facts. They come quite strongly. They come quite aggressively and quite intensely. And so you're still sifting through that and trying not to blow up and flip out on everyone. One of the things that helped me was just to take everything with a grain of salt. If it sounded like wise advice, I would just thank people for sharing. I'd make sure that I did my own research. I would share some of my research sometimes with the aunties and the uncles and the mamas that had their opinions. And, but this is what we're thinking to do. In some instances, you have to know who's not going to be receptive to that. And so for them, sometimes all you got to do is thank you for your advice. We'll pray about it, or we'll keep it in mind. Okay. So don't stress yourself out about that either. I think the other thing that can happen is there's so many traditions once the baby is born. So your family members and extended family will be trying to prepare for that. And in addition to everything else that you're getting prepared for, that can feel like an added layer of stress. Again, don't do it. My husband was traveling a lot during that time, and he works offshore, and so hoping that he would be there for the time that I went into labor was just something that was always on my mind. Talking about it too much would create stress for me, and so I just had to tell some of my friends and family, like, I don't want to talk about this. Just pray about it. I'm praying about it. God will work it out, because I could feel the anxiety and I could feel my blood pressure rising. It was that intense. So I felt that. Another thing that happens during all the stages of pregnancy is intense smells. Your sense of smell becomes so much more intense, and I experienced it at different points throughout my 9 months. In the 3rd trimester, I think I experienced it the most. This nose was not happy with what it was smelling. Whatever you need, if you have tablets that help you with nausea, like, get those. I think mint was something I used, like mint oil was something that I could just sniff and it would help me out. Another thing that increased my nausea was coconuts. I don't know, something about coconut scented lotions, lip balms, sprays just threw me off. Like, I felt like vomiting immediately. I never did, but I would always feel like it, and it would just sit right here in my throat. That's a thing, but know what your triggers are and know what helps you. Drinking tea also would help. I think the warmth of the tea, and for some teas, the antioxidants in them are also just really beneficial. Or maybe it's all psychological and I think it's beneficial, therefore it is. But that would help sometimes. And then just drinking water. I drank a lot of water. Pregnancy was good for me in drinking water, and it was good for my skin because I was taking in so much water as well. Another thing that's really important to do is to create a birth plan. I put together a pretty extensive birth plan just for how I wanted the day to go, how I wanted the room to be, environment, the sounds, the lighting, the people, just all of it, how I was hopeful that it would be, that my baby would be in the room with me. We would have a nice size room so my mom, my husband could come and be in the room. All of those things were included in my birth plan: emergency contacts, allergies that I had, and then just things that I noticed about the baby for the doctors to be mindful of, or that could complicate things. So I noted that on the birth plan as well. So as for me, I didn't have any back aches or leg cramps, but I did feel just some tenderness sometimes in my legs. I didn't have any major back aches or leg cramps, but I would have some back aches once in a while. I think it was really attributed to how I was sleeping, and so I really slept on my side. You also have to be really careful not to sleep on your back. You'll learn more about that. And I can link a video that's helpful just for the actual science and education behind pregnancy. That's not what these videos are. This is just someone to relate to about their personal experience. My breast grew quite large. They say that your breast can go up to 2 pounds. So I felt that, and I think sometimes depending on how I was standing or sitting or slouching, that would contribute to some lower back aches as well. I didn't have any swelling, but my stomach was huge. I did start to have some light yellowish discharge from my breast. It's the colostrum is kind of like the pre-milk before your actual milk starts to flow in once the baby is born. So sometimes that happens, and those are good signs as well. If you're concerned, talk to your doctor, but it is a good sign. I continued to have Braxton Hicks during this period, still frequent urination. I started to get some constipation, also got some hemorrhoids, which is also quite common. Do not fret, do not worry. Sometimes they go away, but babies change your body so much, and these are one of the ways, right? Getting hemorrhoids are one of the ways. That said, over-the-counter hemorrhoid cream will be your friend. I think still trying to do your exercise as much as possible during this time is helpful for you and your baby. I tried my best, but it became really difficult during this time. Don't stress about it. If you get to, amen. If you get to stretch your legs, move your feet, do some yoga, more power to you, sis. If you don't, it's okay. There's so many women that don't. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not failing as a mother. You're not less healthy. You do the best that you can every day for yourself and for your baby. I had days where just my self-esteem was taking a hit because my stomach was so large. My husband was really, really, really encouraging, but you still feel how you feel. So in those moments, I would pray about it. I would get up, I would dress up a little bit, do a little makeup, and that just made me feel a little more like myself. I gained the majority of my weight in this last trimester. That's just how my body worked throughout pregnancy. And so most of the weight came on in the last trimester. It still was a healthy level of weight gain. It's just the majority of it really came at that time. So you could see I looked like all baby. Can be prone to more clumsiness, just feeling off balance more in this trimester. Your center of gravity has shifted because you've got this, life force within you and this huge tummy that prevents you from seeing your feet. So during this trimester, if you hear my baby in the background, please excuse us. It's just life as a mom. So in this trimester, I actually was off balance and I fell down the steps, just like the last 2 steps. I fell on my side, I caught myself, and I was fine. The baby was fine. Everything was okay, but it's not uncommon. So again, don't beat yourself up, but try to be as careful and as cautious as possible. I think I had taken my attention to another direction for a brief second and I just missed a step. It never happened again because I was so alarmed by the whole thing, but I was fine. The baby was fine. Everyone around us was alarmed, but they also were fine, and we just moved on. Another thing that I experienced was an increase in appetite, which is absolutely normal, but it would wake me up out of my sleep. And girl, nothing wakes me up out of my sleep. I sleep until I'm done sleeping. That's just what it is. I would get up in the middle of the night to eat. I would wake up by 6 a.m. to have my first breakfast and then go back to sleep. And then by 10 a.m. I would have my second breakfast. So I just try to make sure that they were light. One might be a small bowl of cereal. The next one might be some fruit and a sandwich, and just try to keep it light so that altogether it was a heavy breakfast, but it was just eaten in intervals. And that's it for my experience in the 3rd trimester. If you like this video and you stayed this long, please subscribe and continue to follow along the series. Make sure you like, comment, and share with a friend, a fashion friend, a mom friend, and lastly, make sure you follow me on my other social channels on Instagram and Pinterest. It was really wonderful to have you. Thank you for following along in this series, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video. All right, bye.